sat down with a few leaders from Christian Cultural Center as they reflected on their Lent experience. Pastor Jamal, Minister Lisa, Minister Aaron, and C3 Youth Leader Gloria share their journey.
When you look at Lent, it usually has a connotation or an association stronger with Catholicism.
Right.
And because of that, that was one of the reasons why we would shy away from it and we would do, fasting for the Holy Week, because Holy Week is more germane to Christendom. We spoke about it, Pastor, myself, and a couple of other ministers, and we said, what about introducing Lent experience from a Christian perspective, and instead of going just for 1 week, so let's challenge the people to really develop themselves over a period of time, starting on Ash Wednesday.
Ash Wednesday came kind of quick this year.
Just doing Holy Week, you just got to make it through the 6 days. You know what I mean? You got to make it through, and, everybody's kind of going through it together and kind of counting down the days. But when you're talking 40 days, like, that's an experience, So to even call it the Lent experience, it's true to what it becomes as a community.
Even if it's not in the Bible that, you guys should fast for 40 days at this particular time. And I think if it's about denying yourself something to kind of identify with, the process that Jesus went through, then I think it can always be relevant.
It's not that we're now deciding to subscribe to this type of, or this dogma called religiosity. Mm-hmm. That's not what this is. So this is us taking something that has been part of the tradition of the church experience and bringing it to a relevant space that we exist in.
Just because it's not biblical doesn't mean it's not relevant or it's not necessary to the believer. There's certain traditions which people are so quickly to go against just because it's not biblical,
right.
But there's certain traditions that have been built into the whole idea of Christendom for a particular reason, just to help the individual move closer with their walk.
You can go even down to having church on Sunday morning is not biblical.
It's not biblical.
Worship service on Tuesday night is not biblical,
Because then if that's because watching service online is not biblical.
Right. Nobody did it in the Bible.
Well, I'm just saying at the end of the day, no, I appreciate that. And I appreciate this discourse because I think that it's important to take it out of that kind of idea. This Lent experience, because we believe in a living Christ. We believe in a personal relationship with Jesus Christ. Like, we're not, as a ministry, ever taking the position that we're just going to start constructing these ideas and just submitting to them on the basis of, the history that they've had.
Your basic Sunday rundown, praise and worship. Then the word is not even, you won't find that structure in the Bible.
Right.
But we utilize that structure because we understand the benefits it has for the progression of the person to soften up their heart, to go through the process of, dealing with their issues and some of the things that happen during that worship experience, to the point where most of the worship experience we can actually lead to an altar call.
All tradition is not bad. Some of it's good and some of it's
like
not
the
good.
hoop earrings.
That's a tradition.
That was a tradition of some of the denominations.
Oh yeah,
not to wear
right.
that
So you
stuff.
Right. So you look at certain. I was like, where? I was like the 90s.
Those are the door knockers back in the 90s.
I was like, don't be judging but it's the truth. Like, my grandmother was Pentecostal. She lived in this tradition that women can't wear nail polish, you can't wear rings, I can't wear earrings. She always wore her head, like something covered on her head. I never saw her in pants. So that tradition, I'm like, no, not so much. You know what I mean? But you want to do baby dedication Sundays, right? That's a tradition. It's not like in the Bible it's to dedicate your baby or your child on this date, but it's something that we do. However, going back to what you're saying, PJ, it's like, if it's bringing you closer to God, then what's the harm?
Minister Aaron, what is your takeaway for this Lent experience?
I don't know if it was so much about a takeaway as much as it was a reflection for me. Maybe getting some questionable news from anywhere. And, you kind of use it as a moment to, like, be at peace with whatever the outcome is. And I guess for me, my Lent experience, and I guess that is the takeaway, being able to rest in the fact that God is in control, regardless to what's going on.
One of the things I did that I knew would be challenging, and I saw it somewhere like in a suggestion, was to at least dedicate one day every week where I would just fast for the day. And so that experience, because it's been on my heart to do for a while, and every week I'd be like, nah, not this week. I gotta go to the gym. I gotta go do this, and I'm hungry. This time I was like, I'm just gonna commit to every week. This is gonna be my thing. But I mean, I'm glad. One of the things I can say is I'm glad I did it because now I'm like, oh, it's something I can do.
You know, I had an idea of what I wanted to sacrifice for Lent, you know. I went in on pizza. I love pizza. But I was very delivered when Pastor Jamal talked about,
Make sure we keep that what I was saying in context.
I'm just saying, I'm gonna bring the context.
All right,
the context
okay,
was,
okay.
I had to ask myself, is pizza really interfering with my ability to worship and recognize Christ?
For 12 days?
But pizza wasn't it. There were other more grave issues in my life that I needed to identify.
All right.
And I found that pizza was
based on the spectrum or
based on the spectrum.
Yes.
You're not there yet. All right.
All right.
You know what? It's 5 years into Lent, like say 5 or 6 years into Lent from
Pizza.
now,
Right.
Or like 10 years later, you'll be like, you know what? I can finally give up pizza because I done addressed all the other.
Because I done took it as other things in my life.
The other
You know what I'm
issues,
saying?
right?
And pizza is not on that high on the top of the list.
All
So
Okay.
But I went in with pizza. This is the thing, is that I thought that pizza was the sacrifice.
When I look at my Lent experience, I found out I was a part of that group that was like a little extreme. So I started out in the beginning, I said, oh yeah, I'm gonna give up soda, I'm gonna give up, complex carbs, deal with simple carbs, deal with the complex carbs. Like I really went in, looking at my diet, I'm like, okay, but is this really getting, because I can do that easy. So then I went to the other extreme. I said, I just wanna, feel you. I really want, I was hungering for him. And I started getting mad because I'm like, what am I missing? And I was speaking to people and said, I'm really not feeling God the same way I felt him last year at Lent. Or I said, or I'm not really hearing from God the way I felt when I did the consecration week and stuff like that. I said, so I ended up going through with some of that extreme. And I said, well, let me really take inventory of now this whole experience. I had to really start reflecting and say, okay, when you're in the presence of God on a consistent basis, to yearn for him more is different than not being with him at all and then entering in. Some people, they get to a place where they enter into the presence and they feel that high, but now when you're consistent in the presence of God and then you go into the journey of Lent and you want to experience a little more, but he's always been there because that's your consistent disposition with him, and that's where I started reflecting and said, okay, Lord, we are here. You my mans, we banging together, we doing it, we putting this work in, and I just got to be content with where you are, and it's okay for me to still yearn for him because I think that yearning for him will keep me out of going from a place of, not backsliding, but going to a place where I don't seek him like I was doing during Lent.
After the Lent experience is now over, our perspective on that, our approach, how do we process? Because that 40 days has the ability to bring up a lot of stuff. What's the post experience like? How do I maintain this?
It's like going on a diet, right? So you say you go on a diet and then you're like, all right, so for a month I'm on this diet. And then what they say about people who diet is that they, a lot of people end up putting the weight back on. They put it on even double than what they had before because you end up saying, all right, I'm on this kick. I'm not eating this. I'm not eating that. And then when you go back to it, because you're like, oh, let me eat a little bit more. And then all of a sudden you'll find yourself bigger than you were when you first decided to lose the weight. So now with Lent, it's kind of like, all right, now, it's over. So whatever you gave up, say you gave up meat, that's getting in the way between my relationship. Now you go back to it, but then you go back to it so excessively because you're like, oh, now I can eat meat again. I'm gonna eat meat Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And it's kind of like, wow, you ended up almost going back, but even going back worse than you did when you started the process. So one of the things for me is music. I love God, I love reggae and I love trap music, right? So you can't listen to gospel music at the gym. I can't be like, to worship you. I'm like, who can
get pumped up,
I'm not pumped up to worship you I live, right?
It's more like yoga.
Right, but I have to say, because I kind of forced myself to do this. And I was like, you know what? I really walked away. And there were a couple of times in the gym where I did get a little teary-eyed. And I was just like, oh man, God, I didn't expect to meet you here. I have to say I did experience, I didn't think I could experience that while I was working out. And it's something that I do want to keep. So I don't want to go back now that I can, now Lent's over, I'm about to be like, I'm like Sean Paul, Bougie Bonton every single day. Right. But, I can balance it out a little bit more,
For me, it was more trying to adopt things that you may have wanted to adopt over the years, but it becomes a little more of a habit now. And some things you keep and take with you. Some people choose to stop eating meat and then they continue on with it. Right. Maybe looking at a documentary here or there and, getting more information. But, you get more information and you move on and then it becomes a lifestyle.
I'm going to tell you, one of the biggest takeaways I got was confronting the reality and hearing that in spite of all those things that you have on your list that you need to sacrifice for Lent, that may be interfering, in spite of the fact that those things exist, in spite of the fact that it's a struggle, in spite of the fact that you're still a work in progress in it, can you still worship? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Can you still consecrate? Mm-hmm. Can you still pray? Can you still switch out of your routine and your reality or the condition that you created for yourself to recognize God and still press yourself through?
As I came close to my end of Lent, God has 3 answers. Yes, no, or wait. Wait is an answer. Right. You know, I told my kids, wait. You know, I'm not saying no, I'm not saying yes, but just wait. You know, let's see where we are. Let's see what, you know, are you prepared for, you know, through this Lent experience to receive what you're asking for, you know? That needs to be in alignment in order for me to say yes to you. Or, you know, it might just be no. And I think, you know, that's where I landed at, you know, towards the end of my Lent and saying, okay, Lord, yes, maybe, or no. As long as you're there, as long as you control, I'm good.
We hope you enjoyed your Lent experience and that your journey brought you closer to God. We would love to see how you plan to carry out your experiences throughout the entire year. Send your 1-minute videos to yourvoice@cccinfo.org.